we have Donald Trump is unable or unwilling, perhaps both, to protect the nation's borders. Donald Trump is unable or unwilling to bring troops home from the Middle East. Donald Trump is unable or unwilling to name white people as his number one constituency, as the number one element of his voting bloc, his base. He's unable to really undertake any appreciable aspect of defending the nation that he is supposedly in charge of. Now, this is not necessarily an indictment of Trump as a person. This could be an indictment of the office of the presidency, the establishment of the deep state, just the embedded bureaucracy and how it controls things more so than the president. That's all fine and well. That's fair. These are fair things to say. But let's just assume, like many conservatards and libtards might as well, that Trump is in charge of all of these things. How hilarious is it that as caravan after caravan of illegal immigrants pours into the country, as an opioid epidemic destroys white America, every year we lose a full Vietnam. 50,000 people die pretty much every year to the opioid epidemic. Every year, Americans are pimped out via the military-industrial complex to die in wars for Israel, but we're really concerned about the plight of homosexuals abroad. Societies that have these agendas pushed on them, societies that accept these agendas, what do? They become more homosexual in terms of how they behave, and that means hypersexualized, okay? And you see, as a result of that, a massive decrease in birth rates and a massive increase in hedonistic, pleasure-oriented behavior that does not allow for a healthy, safe, productive society. And honestly, let's just let it rip, man. It's Wednesday night. It's 10:30. You know, who knows who's watching? This also leads to sexualization of children. Would you have people like Desmond the Amazing? Would you have people like Desmond the Amazing if there wasn't a massive push for the LGBTQ agenda? Of course you wouldn't. Take a look at Desmond the Amazing, a young child who is being basically pimped out by his parents, his disgusting New York cosmopolitan neoliberal parents, in order to make money. He's dancing on stage at homosexual strip clubs in front of ferociously disgusting gay men, okay? And I don't mean to say that all gay men are disgusting, but if you are cheering on a young child dancing in front of you at a homosexual club, you got problems. You are not the type of person that I want to be associated with. And that's really what pushing the Globohomo agenda is all about, is destroy the family, destroy the sanctity of love between a man and a woman, sexualize children as early as possible to destroy them for life, and really destroy your enemy's ability to foment an appreciable resistance because they have no morals, they have no actual structure to fall back upon because there is no family. But also, they are not going to stop until they get their war with Iran. Right? And this is what we're seeing. Of course, this NBC News article by Josh Lederman brings this up, which is, we're very upset about the fact that Iran hung some gay dude from a crane somewhere. But the reality is they are looking to prop up anti-Iran sentiment by any means necessary. Any way they can do it, they're going to do it. The Trump administration, John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, they are foaming at the mouth. They are foaming at the mouth for a war with Iran. And why is that? Well, we all know why that is. Because Iran is arguably the number one geopolitical enemy of Israel. All right, let's just call it what it is. Let's just call it what it is. And I got to say this too. You know, when you think about the Trump administration, when you think about what was promised versus what was delivered, you know, you'd have to really compare Donald Trump to Ronald Reagan. You know, I've done a lot of research into the Reagan administration recently. When you look back at like the era of the 70s, and Josh and myself kind of discussed this privately when we were getting ready for the stream that we did on Megadeth, where we were talking all about we did our research on Megadeth. You find like the lead singer, guitar player for Megadeth, Dave Mustaine, was a guy that was born of this awful time that was the 1970s. This sexual revolution that was totally out of control. Massive inflation, a huge loss of confidence in America. And you find that when you do your research on Reagan's election in 1980, that a lot of Christians backed Ronald Reagan because Reagan had apparently said that he would support reinstituting prayer in schools. That Reagan was someone who ran on this idea of ending this never-ending push for degeneracy in the West. And of course, Reagan did nothing of the sort. Reagan, of course, in retrospect, is only idolized for the tax cuts and the Reagan recovery. No one's actually allowed to critically assess what Reagan did from a cultural and social perspective because he was an epic failure. He did nothing for the Christian majority that desperately wanted to push back against the increasing secularization of society and the specter of degeneracy that was pushing forward. Now, how is Trump similar to this? Well, Trump ran, first of all, obviously on protecting our nation's borders, which he has absolutely failed at. We all understand this. Okay, but if you analyze what Trump ran on, which was nationalism, America first, versus what you're getting, which is America is invaded by third worlders still, but we're really worried about the plight of gay people all over the world, you have to ask yourself, are you really getting what you bargained for? Because the Christians, they voted for Trump, they got behind it because he was still pushing back against some of the degeneracy in their mind. And again, it was more implicit than Reagan's campaign statements were, but in their mind, they are they're trying to push back against the secularization and the Globohomo, even though the evangelicals their balls are cut off, they're really not allowed to do anything anymore. Whatever. Simple fact is they were pushing back against it. But no, what do you get instead? You don't even get nationalism. You don't even get a reinforcement of Christian values, however flawed those might be for some people. No, you get Globohomo in the truest effect. The Trump administration doesn't care about the sovereignty of U.S. borders. They don't care about white America. No, just bring in the illegals, and guess what? We're really worried about gay people abroad. So they're engaging in globalism in the worst way, which is not even just like we're worried about free trade for corporations or something. It's not even just that. It's we have to continue to break down the most basic social norms, the most basic biological norms in the societies of the enemies of the United States and Israel at all costs. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. That is exactly what we are seeing here. This push for Globohomo by the Trump administration is just the most recent betrayal by Trump, by his advisors, by the people that he appointed. This is a disaster. This is a disaster. There's really nothing else you could say about this. This is a disaster. Pushing Globohomo, regardless of what you feel about homosexuals, all right, regardless, is still globalism. And it's still putting an agenda, a globalist agenda, before the interest of the American people. I mean, what else could you possibly say here? This administration's a failure. They're worried about the plight. I mean, just think about this real quick. If you are an American, and let's just push even whether or not you're white or whatever out of the question here. Let's just push that out. If you are living, if you're not a Mexican invader and you're living on the border in Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, whatever, you're not happy with the way things are going. This is basically Donald Trump saying, I care more about the plight of sodomites in Iran. I care more about the plight of sodomites in Somalia than I care about a heterosexual couple on the border. This is a betrayal of the America First agenda. This is a betrayal of basic, normative, biological human values. This is a furthering of the degeneracy that has been propped up by the media, and this only has nefarious intentions.